Welcome to Mudimo Awaz, a podcast presented by Musico. I'm your host Mohua. On this podcast, we will talk to dreamers, unsung heroes who have broken the rules as they swam against the current and renewed their vows to themselves as individuals. The believers who've been crazy to start ventures that have made a difference to society and the lives they've touched with their magnanimity and knowledge. As for me, I was in the communications business in a leadership role and also been a homemaker. The slow death of my self-confidence that went unnoticed over the years, when self-worth was based on the validation I sought from others. Quoting the author Elif Shafak, do not go with the flow, be the flow. Today on our episode, we have Queen Andro, also known as Nirjal Basnet. Welcome, Nirjal.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Nirjal is an artist, a creative soul who's known for being a stylist to a very large clothing brand, a makeup artist, of course a rebel, and someone you can't ever ignore. Welcome, Queen Andro.
Thank you. Thanks again.
So tell me, Nirjal, you talk about androgyny, and I think, it is still a very, very, it's a space that I don't think there's too much of light that's been really thrown on this, especially in India.
Yeah.
How did you come to a realization about yourself, and when did it happen?
So basically, it was like, a very natural process. While growing up, I always knew that there was like a special element in me, which I could only see in myself compared to people around me, because everyone, all of my friends in my class, they had certain set of behaviors and stuff like that, which were like common amongst them. But I always found myself different. And even in the things that I liked and the things that I, believed in. And obviously I had that in my conscience. But as I grew up, I felt like, obviously I started reading about the various artists that I was influenced by, and reading about people like Madonna, who used to embrace androgyny, and also many other artists like Michael Jackson, for example. So it was like a culmination of me reading about my artists, and obviously the pop culture, and at the same time self-realization, and my own journey that made me realize that this is what I am. Androgyny is what I am meant to express, and androgynous is what I am, and that is what I want to promote through my work, and showcase that.
So, what? I am of the belief that androgyny is in all of us.
Yes.
It is in all of us, the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
And in my head, I think sometimes I'm a man and sometimes I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And there's always this beautiful intercourse between the two.
Yeah.
But of course, because we've all our lives put things into, boxes.
Yeah.
That if you are a woman with, a vagina and a breast, then you're a woman, and if you're a man with a penis, then you're a man. Which is again boxes, and I guess that's how society has evolved over the years.
Yeah.
So androgyny is something that's very much prevalent, even spiritually. If you look at it in Hinduism, you have Adi Shakti, right?
Yeah,
where,
exactly.
Parvati, Shiva has the feminine side and the masculine side.
Yeah.
But tell me, how difficult was it to explain, in spite of having this whole religious and cultural acknowledgement of androgyny, it is not accepted in society.
Yeah.
How did your family take to it when you started expressing to them?
So basically, the thing is, it was never like a difficult thing to express, because clearly, they are your family members and they've seen you grow up. So it was never like a shocker. And they've always seen that I express femininity in a way that maybe a little more than other boys while growing up. So it was never a thing that I had to explain. And I was always into theaters and performing arts. And since I was in an all-boys school, I usually used to take up female characters, in the dramas and the plays that we used to do. And I was pretty good at it. So because of that, I was encouraged by my teachers and my, and my theater department as well. So that way it was really easy for me to express, because the expression came in form of theater and fashion. So it was easy translation, for them as well. So it
But
was,
when you're a child, I mean, in school, I would imagine in a all boys school, boys can be real bullies too, And how did you ever face any situation that you remember that has left a mark in your mind?
to be honest, like, I mean, there were a lot of bullies, but like, I always feel like I have been divinely protected in some way or the other, because I honestly don't have a sad story to tell, to be honest. Like,
Which is fantastic.
yeah, like, I mean, I know it's a struggle to express, like, yourself the way you want to, but to be honest, I don't have a sad story when, a day I was like victimized or bullied in a bad way, like, because I always believed in like a higher power. Ever since I was a child, I had this feeling, and I always like, channeled that protection from that source. And I always feel like I have been protected along the way. So, I mean, somehow or the other, like, I was like, teachers really liked me or something or the other. So that way, there was a certain sense of protection throughout. Obviously, there were times when I did feel left out, but I mean, naturally, I have always been someone who always focused on something like better. Instead of like, I was never someone who like who sat on, like, I mean, in the corner of my room and like, like cried. Like, I've never been that person. So yeah.
So, which means that you also had an innate ability to handle,
Yeah,
whenever little
yeah.
bullying that has happened. Because I think there are very few people who can say this with so much of courage, especially it requires so much of courage to come out on your own and express in a country like ours, where, the ability to accept anything that's different is extremely tough.
Exactly.
And so, kudos to you. And where are you from? I mean, which school did you go into? And you said you were from West Bengal. So tell me a
Yeah.
little about.
So I was born in this place called Kalimpong. That's where that's my mom's
beautiful place.
Yes, it's a beautiful. It's near the valley, I guess. And then I moved to Darjeeling. As soon as after I was born, I moved to Darjeeling, and I did my schooling from St. Joseph's, North Point, Darjeeling. And it's a Jesuit school, and it's like probably like, I mean, I am so grateful that I got my education from there, because like the culture is amazing. Like the the whole culture that was imparted on us, it was great. I had an amazing childhood. And imagine opening up your windows and looking at you get the view of
Mountains ahead.
the mountains. It's probably the most amazing feeling of all time.
Yes, I think it's one of the most spiritual,
Yeah. Yeah.
way to grow up, because
Yeah.
mountains are always such a reminder of, you can have any weather. It can be,
Yeah.
or it can be raining or it can be sun, but the mountain just stands stoic in spite of
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And that itself is such a lesson, and
Exactly.
And for me, it's always been about, wanting to go back would be only to the mountains, because that's where I find my solace and my peace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So is it the same also for you?
Yeah, I mean, it never, like, obviously, because I moved when I was 17. So I wasn't super deep then, but like maybe subconsciously it did help me when I opened my windows and I like, saw the mountains. Maybe it subconsciously helped me to just stay grounded and stay strong. And like, maybe I derived certain sense of power from the mountains.
At 17, where did you move?
I moved to Bangalore.
Oh, straight to Bangalore.
Yeah, straight to
It's one of the
Bangalore.
most nicest cities ever.
Exactly. I was supposed to move to Calcutta, but I was dating someone then, and then like he had to come to Bangalore. So I was like, I literally fought with my parents, and I was like, I need to go to Bangalore. That's how I.
And are you
came
still
here.
dating him?
No.
Should I say lucky you?
Oh, lucky me! Thank God.
Why?
To be honest, that was like the first time I ever felt like love in such an intensity. And, when you fall in love, when you are like a teenager, and like when you're like almost like hitting like adulthood, you feel like they're everything, right? Like, this is it. You got to spend your life with them. And you have this passion, which is like super intense, and you just want to like leave everything behind. That's exactly what I did. And it was pretty intense. After that, not just because like it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, it was kind of abusive as well, like physically. He was very abusive, and that's the moment I started like it was like that was the journey. It's like after I came to Bangalore, that's when my journey began, the real journey of like, traveling inwards and like dealing with like life's real shit.
Issues.
Yeah, issues.
So when you say you're traveling inwards, what do you mean by that, Nigel? Traveling inwards has so many connotations, you know.
Till I was like 17, life was like all amazing. Like, I was doing everything I wanted to do. I was, I did
In a
amazing in my
protected
school.
environment.
Yeah, in a protected environment. And I was studying well. I was like playing my tennis. I was like doing my theater and everything was, and I was a happy person. When I got into that relationship, when I came here, that's when the shadow work began. I had to do my shadow work then. I had to deal with the darker aspects of life, darker aspects of my own personality, darker aspects of people around me, that not everyone's gonna be sweet. Not everyone's gonna like take care of you forever. And that, yeah, that, stuff like betrayal and like, that things break down, things don't go as planned. So the shadow work that I did, like actually is what I mean by like going inwards, like that's when I had to deal with like maybe the real issues that
He understood your space of androgyny.
To be honest, like maybe he didn't, maybe it was just like a momentary thing for him, and like it was like a um, you know unsure. Maybe he wasn't unsure, and maybe he wasn't as brave as I was at that point. So that also led to a lot of like.
What do you mean by brave? I mean, was he hiding the relationship?
Not exactly hiding, but obviously it was a lot of pressure for him as well, because like he was interested in women as well. So like when he also got into college, so it was like an environment of like, it was a co-ed environment. And in college you want to do a lot of stuff. So maybe he wasn't ready for that commitment as well. So, that's how it turned out. But yeah.
Tell me about your foray into fashion and your into makeup and getting into this whole stylist business that you're in right now. And how did you come into after having done theater and having been in Darjeeling? I'm sure you would have been interested in all these things because you were in touch with the feminine side to you, right?
Yeah.
How did you come into taking this up as a profession for yourself?
So basically I always knew, like, to be honest, like, if I read my slam books right now, and like when I was in class 7, in my ambition, I have written, I want to be a detective. Can you imagine? A detective and archaeologist. Like, I had no idea that I wanted to do something in fashion. But I did know that I had this like creative side in me.
Okay.
So like, one thing that I believe in is like so I was supposed to do law. Okay. My parents wanted me to do law. And I was like, I was admitted to this college, Jogesh Chandra, and I was like ready to like get into that, and until I had to like fight and come here. But after like 3 or 4 years, when I got into fashion, that's when I realized this whole purpose of me coming here was that it was my destiny, like my calling, calling me here. Okay, so talking about my profession, so that's so after I broke up, I hit rock bottom, and I started like really thinking that I need to like do something now for myself, like and
we always need something that's going to be majorly a huge setback for you to start realizing that you need to do something for yourself. And I think setbacks are in a way a blessing, because at that moment you feel that you're going to sink and you won't ever be able to swim up. But I've seen for most people, and I include myself in this, that setbacks have always helped me discover about myself,
Exactly.
So, yeah, so tell me, and how, because now you work with a very big, very large leading fashion brand, what is it that you do for them there?
So right now I'm freelancing.
Okay.
So I freelance with like various brands, like whatever I do their shoots, I style for them, I do makeup for them. So that's what I do. I curate looks for them, and I, help them get their desired result and how they want it to be, like, showcased, and like, yeah. So I help them creatively in that sense. Yeah.
I, I've always felt that as a stylist and as a makeup artist in India, we still do not have a huge amount of value as in terms of commercials. And they'll always negotiate with you when it comes to the pricing, when it comes to even putting up a cost, which they will never negotiate when they go to a doctor to
Yeah.
get their health checked. But, if you're a writer, you're a painter, you're a stylist, you're a makeup artist, they will say, okay, please do this one free. And the next one, we will work something out. And the next one never happens.
Happens, yeah.
And isn't that a challenge that you face, Nijal?
Yeah, initially, like, so the thing is, initially I did like face some challenges because I was new. So I was new to the freelancing world, and obviously it was like pretty challenging. But like as I started, like, getting a hold of this whole thing, I just like don't budge from my rates now anymore. I'm like, if you want it, you want it, or else, like, it's okay, I'm not doing it. And also, it's also like, our industry is like so not like, in paper. There's nothing in paper.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, for example, it's not an organization where there's a boss.
Yes, it is absolutely, it's not organized at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, the creative field is not organized at all,
Yeah.
in India. And invariably, because I remember when I began writing, I probably wrote 100 articles for free,
Exactly.
the first year. And it can be so because you're always in self-doubt when nobody wants to pay you.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
keep wondering whether you're talented or not. And that
yeah.
must be playing it plays such a negative role in our hearts and in our mind, our confidence
Exactly.
levels, whether you're on the right path or you're not. And so tell me, Nijal, how, with this whole thing about, being in the space that you're in, that expression that you have of yourself as a person, plus being in a industry that is so challenging. How did you find the footing? Did you have somebody who helped you, like a godfather, who kind of opened doors for you? Because styling, I think, has just kind of begun about how many years back? About 10 years back.
Yeah.
Before that, I don't think anybody even knew what styling was all about. Some of us just knew how to dress up and we put things together.
Yeah. I mean,
now it's a profession and people are talking about stylists and they do get the credits in fashion magazines and, in elsewhere.
Exactly.
And so tell me, I mean, how did you have anyone who helped you make your first foray in this business?
Yeah. So when I was in college, towards the end of my college, I met Prasad Bidapa, and he was like he's literally someone who scouts talents and like literally like gives birth to so many dreams, like, right? So I mean, he definitely mentored me for like 3 years. I worked with him, and like so I traveled with him everywhere, and like just learned the ethics of like fashion, and like especially events and runways and stuff like that. And that's where I understood like what I want to be and what I'm good at, because I was doing almost a lot of stuff with him, and he gave me a chance to like do a lot of stuff. So definitely it has to be Prasad who opened this entire door for me. And then after a point, I wanted to venture out on my own, and like he let me do that. So I'm super thankful to that.
That was the beginning for you.
That was the beginning for me.
And which year was that?
That was, I guess, 2013.
Okay, 2013.
Yeah, 13. Yeah.
Okay. And where do you see yourself now, Nijal, as far as your work goes? I mean, do you see yourself continuing with this? Because, I do believe that most creative minds are androgynous.
Exactly.
And you have to be struggling all the time between the male and the female energy, the feminine and the masculine.
Yeah.
And when I lie down in bed and I shut my eyes, I don't know if I'm a woman or a man, because I think thoughts doesn't have any gender.
Exactly.
Emotions do not have any gender. And you're so, you're all the time trying to address all of this deep down. I think in your case, it would be much more than what I would do, because I have been, I have been more aware of my feminine side than the masculine side.
Yeah.
But the older I'm growing, I'm beginning to realize that I do have the masculine side to me too,
Yeah.
And but of course, I'm more in touch with my feminine side.
Yeah.
So how did you kind of, how did you deal with all of these things? I mean, tell me, when you go into bed at night, what is it that you think of? What is it that you look ahead for yourself, Nijal, in life?
Basically, like, I like, as far as the masculine and feminine energy is concerned, I feel like I'm at this place where I am very well aware of who I am, and I've been able to like balance it out really well, because past few years, like, it was all um it was like self discovery, but at
How
this
many years was this discovery?
it was like probably like, I can say the moment I came to Bangalore, because like before that it was all just like fun and games. Like, I was just doing like, living my life with my friends and not really thinking about stuff. So that's the inward journey that I spoke to you about. That's when I really started evaluating, and like that's where my external image also started changing. Like, if I trace back my self, if I look at myself like 5 or 7 years back, I will not be able to recognize myself, because it's a whole different me.
What is that difference?
I feel it was way more masculine, and the femininity has just taken over, and it's like the more it has taken over, the more in tune I feel with myself right now. Because yeah, so at this point I feel like, in that sense, I feel really centered. And career wise, I feel like really sane, because I feel like I'm doing what I love. And I'm actually, after COVID, I feel like I don't want to do this rat race no more. And I'm like, whatever comes my way, I just want to be happy. Like, do my
I think COVID has been
projects.
such a leveler for all of us.
Yes. It's
It
been
has.
an amazing experience as
It has
well. Yeah.
been a crazy experience.
Yeah.
I mean, because all of us have realized that we can work from home.
Yeah.
All of us have realized that, you don't need so much.
Yeah.
You can do with a lot lesser than what we
Exactly.
thought that we couldn't do without. And
Yeah.
but from the work perspective, has with COVID, because the fashion industry has had a huge slowdown, so how has that affected your work?
Initially, so I was like shooting constantly, and there were like a lot of travel plans, and then everything came to a standstill for a month. And then like, I am someone who's like super adaptive, so I started like looking out for people, and then I started getting into like getting in touch with brands, and started going digital a bit more.
Yeah.
So
That is the answer, actually.
Exactly.
Digital India is so amazing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people really criticize this, but it really opens windows for creators like us.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
it's no longer, there is, everybody's allowed to voice their,
Yeah.
expression in whichever way. So I'm very pro Digital India.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I started like, focusing on my social media and stuff, and like just going a bit more digital. And now things seem to come back to normal. Not exactly, but like
Slowly
shoots
going
have
to.
started.
Oh, okay.
All the fashion weeks have not started, which I'm missing like major. But yeah.
So do you go back often home?
Yeah, not often, but like I go there like once a year. But when I go there, I stay for like a month.
So if you say that, there's been a complete change.
Yeah.
You were more masculine earlier.
Yeah.
And you're more feminine now. So do your parents in your family notice the change? And do they, say anything about that? Do they ask you, are they concerned about you being alone in the years ahead? I'm sure as parents, they might be concerned on all these aspects, because it isn't easy to be who you are. It's never easy to wear your expression on your sleeve. And I really admire you for that, Nijal.
Thanks so
And
much.
so, yeah, I mean, how has it been for you with your parents?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they are like, they literally call me, even today, they call me every day like twice. Like right now, like my dad was calling me twice. It's like I'm still a young kid, and like so like they are definitely concerned, but like the whole thing has been very natural as well. So it's not like they are like they've gotten a shock, because they've seen the
They've seen the whole
transition as well. So it hasn't been a shocker. And my parents, like luckily, like not all parents are super understanding. So luckily my parents have been like really understanding, and they're like super kind, and like and they
You're very
understand.
fortunate, Nijal.
Yes. Because my LGBTQ brothers and sisters, most of them, they don't have it this way. They get bullied. They have like their parents throwing them out of like their houses, and I know how difficult it is. So I just know how fortunate I am to be like, born in this family. They have been super supportive, and like, although we've never had this discussion ever,
Why? Is there an awkwardness to discuss this?
it's just like, yeah, there's like this certain awkwardness like there, but it's just like it's all understood, there's an intuitive understanding between us. Like there's no need to discuss. It's like, a child would never discuss being straight to their parents. It's
Which
similar.
is wonderful.
It's similar.
Do you
like
think that, because now I think in India there's been a lot more people are more vocal about LGBTQ plus, and
Yeah,
do you think
yeah.
there's a fair, space given also for androgyny, or do you think there needs to be much more education in this aspect?
So the thing is, like, androgyny is a very different topic. It's like it's clearly not sexuality. So it's just something that's just like your expression, right? It's your how do I put it? It's like probably the way you express your gender more than sexuality. So I guess we have to see it in a very different point of view, because even a straight person can be androgynous, even like anybody can be androgynous. Like, so
I've always believed that all creative minds are androgynous.
yeah.
Because I can delve into the mind of a man as much as I can delve into the mind of a woman when I sit down
Exactly.
to write, and I put my thoughts down on paper. I think it's easy for me to see the failings and the failure of my father and the bitterness that he has today, that now that he's retired from work, and
Yeah.
the fact that he doesn't fit into Bangalore because he's a Bengali, who's grown up in
Yeah.
the Northeast in Shillong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I realized that sense of helplessness because he has to stay here because he's old and he can't go back. And that, I think, helps in the creative fields. It really helps, when you can understand
Totally.
both the feminine and the masculine side of the mind. So explain to me a little more when you say that it isn't sexuality, but it is about expressing the gender that you're more, you have more affinity towards. I think, it'll really help the listeners know a bit more. So tell me about this.
Yeah, so I mean, you can be gay, straight, lesbian, whatever, but you can express yourself in a, like, for example, if you are born male, you can express yourself in a masculine way, like the way society wants you. So that's fine. However, you can be of any sexuality, and you can, I mean, what can I say? It's more like embracing the feminine aspect. So it's more like a physical aspect, like, compared to like your sexuality is more like an innate, like your want and your desire and your attraction, right? So androgyny is more about your physical expression of yourself,
Of the clothing that you
of the clothing that you wear, the way you look. It's more physical.
I can see that you are flawlessly made up right now. So you have to tell me what you have in your face for me to not even be able to decipher what base is that, and the lipstick you have on. It's gorgeous. So tell
Thank
me.
you. So I'm wearing like Fenty Beauty foundation.
Okay.
And
Do you recommend that?
yes, I love it.
Okay.
Rihanna's products, Rihanna's makeup line is everything. And
Where are they available?
you can get it in Sephora.
Okay.
I'm not sure you get it in India, but you get it in Sephora.
How is this different from the other?
I mean, the coverage is great.
Okay.
The coverage is
It
great.
suits Indian complexion?
Yes. And the best part is it has like all the skin tones, like from the darkest to the fairest and like the yellowest
Okay.
to the, it's all inclusive. I love that about it. And just some eyebrows. Today's look is more like everyday look. It's like very minimal. I mean,
Yeah, which is very sexy minimal. I would love to learn that from you, Nijal.
anytime.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So do you spend a lot of time in the mornings before you get dressed to go out on shoots, or normal days it's just so easy that your face is a canvas and you just take the brush and you just go ahead and you do it?
Shoot days are super hectic. I'll be waking up at 4:30 a.m. So I have my concealer.
So you apply the concealer every time?
Yeah, so on the go. So in my fanny pack, I have my concealer and my brush and my lip balm. That's it. So on the go, like on the road, I
Where
just
did
put
you
some
learn how to
concealer.
do this sort of flawless makeup?
I don't know, I just learned it by myself. By myself, just watching people do it, and like that's it. That's how I learned it.
What are your plans for being? Are you planning to stay on in Bangalore? You also plan to go out, out of the country, or you're planning to go out into Delhi or Bombay, to find more work opportunities, a larger canvas to express yourself? Or do you think Bangalore has been great with you, and you see yourself continuing here for a while?
So you know what? Right before the lockdown started, I was supposed to move to Bombay. I had like figured out my house, everything, and I had a week's time. I had to travel to Delhi and then move to Bombay. And then there was lockdown, and then like entire plan.
changed.
Yeah, life changed. And obviously, I'm not planning to move anywhere for a year now. But if I move anywhere, it'll be Bombay.
Why?
Because obviously there's more work. There's way more work there. And also a lot of my friends are there. And like, I just want to challenge myself a bit more. Although like, although I feel like, I feel content. But yeah, maybe in a year's time, I would want to challenge myself.
What about love, Nigel? Are you in love with someone now?
I mean, I just broke up like a week back or something.
I think that was a wrong question. You seem to be glowing for having broken up a week back. There are no dark circles, and there's this huge laughter that almost reaches the eyes. Tell me more.
I mean, he was really boring. I'm sorry to say this, but he was really boring. He was like way elder than me, and he was pretty boring. And so
What do you
I had to
really
call
say
it.
boring?
I'm a fire sign. I need like to do a lot of stuff, I don't want to sleep early. I want to like go out, party, and like, so he just wanted to like chill at home and watch movies. And I can't do that forever.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can do that forever.
Yeah.
You need someone flexible to do a mix of both, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I'm sorry.
Who do you look up to, Nigel, as far as this whole space of androgyny is concerned? Who are the people that you think in India has even slightly been able to express themselves, in the fields of art? Has there been anyone till now?
In India, not really,
No
to
one.
be honest. Like, not because there's no one, but like, obviously, like, I don't know, it's like, it's just something that has happened. Ever since I was a child, it was just like this global pop culture that influenced me way too much. And I grew up listening to Madonna and like.
Yeah, Madonna's always been my
iconic.
favorite. She's
Yeah.
iconic.
And maybe, the strength that she has,
Yes,
like
absolutely.
unapologetic nature and like
Absolutely.
the way she questioned everything.
Yes, she did.
It's like she's the most inspiring person for me. Like,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
She is. So, do you see that in India there would be a space for someone who would also be, representation for the space that you want to express in the next few years, or you see there's a huge gap still there?
No, I feel it's coming super soon. It's already happening. I see the
Have you
drag
met-
culture.
Have you met youngsters who are really out there and talking
Yeah.
about things?
Yeah, I see like drag culture getting super popular. I see like the LGBTQ like representation growing, but like it might not be happening in a great way. But I mean, like we definitely have to keep fighting. But it's still happening. There are changes that's happening, and
So
I would
there
like
is
to
hope.
see that there is definitely hope, and it's up to us. And just by being ourselves, that's what I feel like. We don't have to get out on the streets and like protest. Like just by being ourselves and just like it could be just like by meeting random people, you just like let them see what it's all about. You leave a mark, an impression, and just be kind to them and like, make them realize that everyone's just
Everyone's same at the end of the day.
At the end of the
Nigel.
day, yeah.
We're all looking for love and affection.
affection, yeah, and good
acceptance.
vibes, yeah.
Absolutely. How did
Exactly.
you come with the name Queen Andrew?
Queen Andrew, yes. So, I mean, Queen is something I always like related myself to because it was such a, it was a, it gave immense power of femininity, like a position of power and
I think I
fierceness.
call myself also Queen.
Yeah, everyone can be like queens, like so Queen was always there. And that's something like, that stuck to me. for
And
years
it's been
to
taken
come.
very well. So you're known more as Nigel or as Queen Andro?
To be honest, like, now in like my social media thing, like some people don't even know that my name is Nirjal. Like, even only
It's a
people that
beautiful
like,
name.
yeah. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Queen Andro,
Thank
for being on
you.
this episode. And where can we find, your work? If you could just share the Instagram link with us and just tell us.
Yeah. So I'm the most like active on Instagram.
Okay.
So
What is your
my
Instagram handle called?
it's Queen Andro _.
Okay.
That's
So
it.
we can find Queen Andro _
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
many avatars.
Yeah. I also run a meme page, and it's called at thirsty _queen.
Thirsty.
Yeah.
Queen.
Yeah, that's for like a little more explicit memes. So if you want to just like, laugh and
Thirsty is going to leave people really thirsty. for
thirsty,
more.
yes.
But thank you so
Yeah,
much. Wonderful
yeah.
having you on the episode
Thank
today.
you so
and
much. I had
look
so much
forward
fun.
to more shows with you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Thank you.